Hi, welcome to your second lesson here at Wing Chun Online. Today's lesson we're going to go over the Wing Chun footwork. Although this might not be the most exciting lesson, it is the most important lesson you're going to have in the whole entire series. Without good footwork, you can't get to your opponent and you certainly can't get away from your opponent. So having good footwork is of the utmost importance. Think about any sport, football, tennis, soccer, basketball. Footwork is essential, and same with Kung Fu and in fighting. If you're on a train track and the train's coming, you need to step off that train track, off the line of force. Otherwise, that train's gonna blast you over. If you think about a bullfighter, what's he practicing diligently? His footwork. As much as he might want his cape to look good, without that good footwork, he's gonna get crushed by that bull. So footwork is absolutely essential, and Wing Chun footwork is very, very simple, yet very important. Our footwork isn't like a lot of other martial arts where when you get your white belt, you're doing one step, and then when you get your black belt, you're doing very complex footwork. Our footwork is the same footwork. The footwork you learn today is the same footwork you're going to be doing as a master level practitioner. So let's talk a little bit about the Wing Chun stance. I'm going to show you right now, here I'm in what we call a left neutral stance. We're going to go over this in just a few minutes. There's a question I ask students and practitioners. Why in Wing Chun do we have an angled stance to our opponent's center? So why in Wing Chun do we take this angled stance? If you're my opponent, why do I take an angled stance when facing you? So why we take this angled stance in Wing Chun is simple. By taking an angled stance, it protects my center. It turns my center away from my opponent. All of our vital organs lie near or around our center line, so I want to do everything possible to protect that center line. So I'm turning this off to the side. My hands come out. By having an angled stance, it gives me this lead hand and a rear hand. And this lead hand and rear hand forms something called the three rings of protection. I have my lead hand, I have the elbow of my lead hand and my rear hand forming a second ring, and then my elbow of my rear hand forming a third ring or layer of protection. Look at it as a grid here, grid here, grid here. I'm forming a defensive layer in front of me. You have to get through my lead hand, you have to get through this layer, you have to get through this layer, all to get to me. So if I ask a student, why in Wing Chun do we take an angled stance to our opponent's center? It's simple. We take an angled stance to our opponent's center to protect our center line, turn our center away from our opponent, make ourselves less of a target to our attacker. As well, it gives us a lead hand and a rear hand. This lead hand and a rear hand forms what we call the three rings of protection. And that's a simple answer to why we take this angled stance. Right now, we're going to move on to left neutral, left forward, right forward, as well as how to move in these stances. Afterwards, after you've gone through some of these stances, come back and watch this again and just go over that explanation and see if it makes a little bit more sense to you, see if you can answer it. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me at any time. I'll see you in just a moment. Hi, let's now take a look at the Wing Chun left and right neutral stances. Notice I have a piece of tape here, wood floor, straight line, anything you have to define a straight line, and I simply put my feet slightly angled to the right. So my feet are on the straight line, my toes are on the straight line, my knees are slightly bent in, and then I bring my hands up. And this is a left neutral stance. Very, very simple. My feet on a straight line, slightly angled to the right, my center is slightly turned off, and my hands come straight out, facing you. I don't want my hands to cross, I just want them straight in this line, right here. From my center, coming right out to you is the left neutral stance. When we get in this left neutral stance, a lot of people sometimes get, I don't know which hand to have forward, left neutral, left hand. It's kind of very simple. If I was standing here like this and I just pointed out with my left hand, my feet kind of naturally start to turn. So my feet are angled off to the right and my hands come straight out. In this left neutral, my knees are slightly bent, my center is away, and my hands come straight out in this line, left neutral. When you're practicing your left neutral and right neutral, it's very important to just make sure you understand the foundation of the stance, where your feet, hands, and center should be. My toes are once again on the straight line, my hands come out, my center away. My feet are at about a shoulder width distance. You find if you're too narrow, it's not going to feel right. If you're too wide, it might not feel right. So come into this shoulder width position. Later on, once you've practiced this stance diligently, you might find I like a little bit shorter stance or a little bit wider stance. That's going to be okay, but for now, keep it at a shoulder width distance until you can really feel comfortable with the stance. From this left neutral as well, I just want to show you something. My feet are angled to the right, my center away, and if I turn my center this way, like twisting a corkscrew, it's just going to feel really unnatural, and if I let go, my center kind of falls right into place off to the side, hands out. Now I'm going to show you a right neutral stance. Feet on a straight line, now they're angled off to the left. My hands come straight out. My feet are about a 45-degree angle out that way. Knees slightly bent in, back straight, head straight, hands out in front. Later on, we're going to talk more about center line and central line theory. For now, the center line is the line that goes directly out the center of your body. When I'm in my neutral stance, my true center is away from my opponent, is away from you. If you were my opponent or partner, it's away from you. But my hands are coming from my center out towards you, and this is what we call the central line as your hands come out. And here I'm in a right neutral stance. Right neutral, right hand out. Now let's take a look at the side view of the left neutral stance. What you can see from the side view is once again my feet are on this nice straight line, my hands are straight out. And you're going to notice my rear hand is at the level of my elbow. The reason for this is we call this wusao, or protecting hand. So I always want to keep this hand up. I don't want this hand to fall or be lazy. It could be used for defense, it could be used for attack, but keep your rear hand at the level of your lead elbow at all times in your left and right neutral stances. Same with your left forward and right forward. In this stance here, you can notice if I just take my lead hand and make a thumb up, and I put this right here, this is about a fist and a half distance from my body. I don't want my hands snug up against my body, and I don't want them overextended. As a matter of fact, if I kind of extend them all the way out and just let them drop, they kind of naturally fall into place. You can take this here, is this the right distance for my body? Bring your hand out and your rear hand will be at the level of that elbow. And this is a left neutral stance. Here I'm going to go into my right neutral stance. Once again, rear hand level of the elbow, center away, hands out that central line, feet on a straight line. And I'm about that fist and a half distance from my body. So from the side view with the neutral stance, you can really see a good angle of where our hand should be and understand the distancing that that rear arm or elbow should be from your body. And that's as simple as it is for our left neutral and right neutral. Later on today, we're going to go through how to move in those stances, but for now, let's just take a minute and do the stance left neutral. I'm going to work as your mirror, so what I want you to do is get your feet on a straight line, your toes should be angled off to the right, and your left hand should be out. Once again, I'm just your mirror here, so I'm in an actual right neutral. So look, are your feet slightly angled off? Are your knees slightly bent in? Center away from me, not to me, but away, and your hands straight out in this line. If you're in that position, you're in a good left neutral stance. Take a minute now and just switch your feet, so now they're pointing in the other direction, and go ahead and let your right hand come out. Center away, hands straight out, and now you're in a good right neutral position. We're a mirror effect here. I'm in the left neutral to just be your mirror. Very good. So that's the Wing Chun neutral stance. Later on, as I mentioned, we're gonna go through how to move in these stances, and you're gonna feel really comfortable with your stances by the end of this lesson. Thank you. Now we're gonna take a look at switching from a left neutral to a right neutral. What I do is I simply put my feet on a straight line, my hands come straight out, and I'm in a good left neutral stance. For now, I'm gonna put my hands behind my back so you can focus more on just my feet. And then I switch to a right neutral. And I wanna check, are my feet on a good straight line? Left neutral, right neutral, left neutral. When I'm doing this step, it doesn't matter if I take a big step or a tiny step. I'm gonna remain in that shoulder width distance. You just don't wanna step and then start shortening your feet. So they remain in that shoulder width. Once again, if it's a huge step, I still end up in that perfect shoulder width position. So when we work this simple switch, my hands come straight up and I go from left neutral and I switch to right neutral. When I'm doing this switch, my hands are just kind of passing on this central line. They can't go through each other, so I just simply let them pass. And something you'll find that's really neat, if you don't focus on your hands at all and you just get your footwork down, the hands simply fall right into place. Right neutral, left neutral. When I'm in this position of left neutral and right neutral, my hands are straight up and my lead arm, once again, is at the level of my elbow. So I'm here in my right neutral, left neutral, right neutral, left neutral, right neutral, left neutral. Do me a favor, let's switch together in our left neutral, right neutral stance. So I want you to take a minute and get in a good left neutral stance. I'm gonna get in a right neutral stance so I can be your mirror. So your feet should be angled off to your right, your left hand out, and we should be mirroring each other. So you're in your left neutral, take a minute, check, are your feet on a straight line, center away, hands straight out. So now you're in a good left neutral stance. Let's go ahead and switch to right neutral. Take a minute and look, are your feet still on a good straight line? Your hands straight out? Left neutral. Right neutral. Left neutral. Right neutral. Left neutral. Right neutral. Stop and look, feet on a straight line. Center away, hands straight out. Back to your left neutral, right neutral, left neutral. Excellent. This is something I want you to practice all week long. You don't have to set out a lot of time throughout the day, but every day I want you to just take a few moments and just work on switching your stance. It's very, very important. That's how to switch from a left neutral to a right neutral stance. Thank you.